Hello, and welcome to our mini training on completing the USDA Paid Lunch Equity Tool. This mini training is going to focus on completing the tool for those sponsors who have decided that they can increase their prices, but not to the full amount required, and they're going to make up the shortfall by contributing non-federal funds to their nonprofit food service account. We start the training on the instructions tab of the PLE tool, and I would encourage everyone to at least take a glance at the instructions. They will help you complete the tool. Once you've had a chance to review the instructions, we're going to move on to the next tab, the Unrounded Requirement Finder tab. On this tab, we're shown the sponsor's weighted average price requirement for the upcoming school year, the 2017-18 school year. The tool shows that that price requirement is going to be $2.69. If we look a little bit down on the screen, we can see that the sponsor's weighted average price requirement for the current school year is $2.57. Well, we're going to move on briefly to the tab titled SY 1718 Price Calculator. This tab shows us, and we're going to focus here on the box titled SY 2016-17 Weighted Average Price Calculator, the sponsor's current weighted average price. That number is determined by inputting the number of paid lunches sold or served in the month of October and the paid lunch price at which those meals were served. We input this information for you by pulling it out of C&P Web. Now, C&P Web can be a little fickle at times, so it's important that you double check this information for accuracy. There have been times when C&P Web has informed us that a sponsor only has 2 paid lunch prices when in fact it has 3. One for elementary school, one for middle school, and one for high school. So please make sure that the information presented in the price calculator box is correct. We want to make sure that your weighted average price calculation is correct. So we can see here that this sponsor would need to increase its weighted average price by 8 cents to meet the optional rounded down requirement and 12 cents to meet the full weighted average price requirement. Now, because this sponsor has decided for whatever reason that it can't increase its weighted average price by 8 cents or 12 cents, it can only do a little bit less, but it wants to meet the remainder with a non-federal source fund contribution. We're going to move to the tab titled SY 1718 Split Calculator. Because when a sponsor decides to meet its PLE requirement through a combination of price increases and non-federal fund contributions, we call that a split. And on this tab, you can see it starts out with much of the same information that we saw on the price calculator tab. Here's the weighted average price requirement for the upcoming year, the price calculator box. If we scroll down a little bit more, we see a box titled New Price Increase. And please take a moment on this. This box confounds a lot of sponsors. Many think what they're being asked to enter is the amount by which they are increasing their current weighted average price. So for example, we will have sponsors who are increasing their weighted average price by 10 cents, and they will enter in this box 10 cents. What this box is asking you to provide is what will be your weighted average price for the upcoming school year. So if you're increasing your current weighted average price by 10 cents, report that amount, not 10 cents. Reporting 10 cents is going to throw up a calculation. We don't want to do that. So for this sponsor, let's assume that it can't, for whatever reason, do a full 8 or 12 cent increase, but what it can do is it can do a 3 cent increase. So it will be going up from $2.57 to $2.60. If we scroll down a little bit, we're going to see a box titled Non-Federal Source Contribution Calculator for school year 2017-18. This is another box that we will pre-populate for you using data from CMP Web. Here you can see that what has happened is we have taken the number of paid lunches from the previous school year, 2015-16, multiplied that by the amount of the remaining price increase, so in this case 5 cents, and that gives us the amount of non-federal source funds that must be contributed to this sponsor's nonprofit food service account. Now if we scroll down a little bit more, we see a box for entering non-federal source funds contributed between school year 2011-2012 and school year 2016-17. Now again, this is another opportunity to take a moment. This also confuses many sponsors. Sponsors can contribute non-federal funds to their nonprofit food service accounts for many reasons. For the purposes of the PLE tool, we are only considering those funds that were contributed for the purpose of satisfying the paid lunch equity requirement. So, for example, if you contributed $10,000 to your nonprofit food service account last year, but only $3,000 of that was to satisfy the PLE requirement, in this box, you would only enter $3,000. You would not enter $10,000. For purposes of this example, let's assume that this sponsor has, over the past few years, contributed a grand total of $1,000 to its nonprofit food service account. That will decrease the amount of money it must contribute to satisfy the upcoming weighted average price requirement. So this shows us that if the sponsor increases its current weighted average price by 3 cents to $2.60 and contributes $1,165.50, it will satisfy its weighted average price requirement for the upcoming school year. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move over to the tab titled SY 2017-2018 Report. Now this is an important tab. This is where sponsors tell the department how they are going to be satisfying the paid lunch equity requirement. And they do that initially by going over to the pull-down menu here and selecting one of the 5 options available. Now this sponsor has decided to both do a price increase and contribute non-federal funds. So it will be selecting the both option, option 3 here on the tool. If we scroll down a little more, we're going to see a subsection, Split Calculations. So here we're going to enter the amount of non-federal source funds the sponsor needs to contribute. And that number is going to come by, if we take a quick look at the previous tab, $1,165.50. So that's what we're going to enter here. In the box below that, we're going to enter the new weighted average price for the upcoming school year. That's going to be $2.60. Now that this sponsor has reported the amount of non-federal source funds it's going to contribute to its nonprofit food service account and its new weighted average price for the upcoming school year, the sponsor is done. Next steps are to save the completed PLE tool, store a copy on its network, and then send a copy to us at the department via email. Once those are done, the sponsor is done with its PLE reporting requirement for the upcoming school year.